Here they come.
Here they come. Here they come. Here they come. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Look at all these wonderful women joining us tonight. Hello, hello, and welcome to Midwest Women's Herbal Community Conversation. Welcome, welcome, everybody. While we're waiting for other women to go ahead and join us, if you could pop your name in the chat, where you're calling from, and if you've taken a workshop with tonight's guest, Julene Tripp Weaver, at the Midwest Women's Herbal Conference. So your name, where you're from, and if you've been in one of the workshops that Julene has presented at Midwest Women's Herbal. So we're gonna look for you to put those things in the chat. And while all of that is going on, I'll introduce myself. I'm Sherry Ralish. I'm your hostess for this evening. And I've been attending Midwest Women's Herbal events for over 10 years and joined the coordinating team about 2 years ago. And I'm really excited and happy to be here. In case you're not familiar with Midwest Women's Herbal, we're a women-led and women-empowered organization that's been producing herbal events in person and online for over 14 years. In fact, we have a really special 15th annual Midwest Women's Herbal Conference coming up in the spring. I'll touch base on that a little bit later. And we're delighted that you are here for tonight's community conversation titled Writing as a Healing Cauldron, a community conversation with herbalist Linda Conroy and author Julene Tripp Weaver. So that's what you're attending tonight. We're so happy that you're here. Again, for the women coming on, please put your name in the chat, where you're from, and if you've been in any of the workshops that Julene has led at Midwest Women's Herbal Conference. And I'm really happy to share with you tonight that we have some other coordinators on the call. Of course, we have our founder, Linda Conroy. I'll introduce her in a little bit. We have Barb and we have Cynthia, and I'm sure there's a couple other ones on the call tonight. So ladies, if you just want to give a wave, it takes a lot of women in a strong village to produce these type of events, and we're really glad that you're all here supporting us tonight. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Barb Went. We like to begin all of our events by reading Midwest Women's Herbal Mission and Vision Statement, and she's going to take care of that tonight for us. So welcome, Barb.
Thank you, Sherry. Welcome, everyone. Midwest Women's Herbal Mission Statement. Midwest Women's Herbal provides herbal education and opportunities for transformation. Immersed in the tradition of the village herbalist, grandmothers, mothers, daughters, sisters, and children gather in a co-created village. Through earth-centered healing and nourishment, we ally with the plants that grow around us. From the ground up, we connect to weave ourselves, our families, and our communities into a dynamic spiral of health. Midwest Women's Herbal Vision Statement. We live in a world where the feminine is honored and respected, where women stand fully in their power, acknowledging their wisdom, skills, and innate healing abilities.
Wow, that's really powerful. So we invite you all, if you want to follow up and look at that later on, to visit midwestwomensherbal.com. That mission and vision statement are there, and there was a lot of work put into those. I know that the team, prior to when I joined, the coordinating team spent some time in a retreat working on those to give us a guiding light on what our goals are for performing events. Let's see. In the coming days, we'll be sending you some emails with follow-up information from tonight's call and other discounts, coupons for things that are going on. So to avoid things going into your spam, you could add herbwomengmail.com to your contacts. And after tonight's conversation, like I said, we'll be sending some follow-up information. You can return that email, say hello, and then we'll be connected. At this time, I'd like to take a few moments and thank our sponsors who make hosting events like this possible: Moonwise Herbs, Mountain Rose Herbs, Host Defense Mushrooms, Goodland Creative, DNA Hemp, Wisconsin Mycological Society, Driftless Folk School, Herbs on the Side, Frontier Co-op, Herb Farm, Pacific Botanicals, Great Lake Herbs Fair, Natural Awakenings Magazine. If you're interested in learning about sponsorship opportunities, you can visit our website. And as I'm talking, we're going to be popping those direct links in the chat for you there. So I'd like to see, I don't have my gallery view on. Let me put that on. Who is familiar with Mycelium Mysteries, the Women's Mushroom Conference? Give me a raise of your hand or go ahead and raise your hand in the chat there. Fantastic. So we have something really exciting coming up. It's a brand new endeavor. There's Mycelium Mysteries Mexico, and that's being led by Linda Conroy and let me get Kim Hunter. And that's going to be Oaxaca, Mexico. So next Tuesday, November 25th at 7 o'clock, we'll put this in your follow-up link, your follow-up email. There's an informational call, and you can find information about Mycelium Mysteries Mexico. It's next August, and a little brief information. Everyone's invited on the call. You need to register, but you're free to attend, and we'd like you to attend so you can learn about the trip. The trip is guided by local mushroom foragers, herbalists, silk artisans, and more. This journey drops you into a living culture of fungi, craft, and deep relationship with nature. Together, we'll forage in the forest and feast on what we find, explore traditional medicine, dive with mushrooms and plants, and celebrate the resilience and richness of women's knowledge in Oaxaca. So be sure to check that out. I see the links in the chat there. And that sounds really exciting. And if you're not familiar with mushrooms and you want a little bit more, learn a little bit more and prompt yourself and prepare for that trip, we've just added the full recording package for the 2025 in-person Mycelium Mysteries event to our Herb Women classroom. So there's 3 keynotes in there. There's 2 pre-conferences. There's over 20 workshops that were recorded live at that event. And we'll be including that link and a special coupon only for the women attending tonight and the women that signed up for the recording. So you're going to get a really special coupon tonight to go ahead and listen to that recording package. And then you can learn more about mushrooms and be excited about the trip coming up to Mexico in the fall. So we also have in that Herb Women Classroom, that is our online learning platform. There's individual recordings from past conferences, recording packages. We have a community membership program where we have packages that we put together and send you on a monthly basis, so you can take a look at that. And there's something else. Oh, we have all of these community conversations in there too. And I was talking with Linda before we got on, and there's over 20 community conversation packages or community conversation recordings on the Herb Women Classroom. Over 20 events that Midwest Women's Herbal has produced and offered for free. Lots of rich information in there with speakers ranging from plants to constituents to oh, they're escaping me at the moment, but go ahead and check out that Herb Women Classroom. So there's a lot of information in there. All right. Some of the membership levels, and when you buy a learning package at the Herb Women Classroom, it includes a monthly mentoring session with Linda Conroy, veteran herbalist and herbal educator. So next week, Linda will talk about herbs for winter health. So there's a 30-minute presentation on a topic, and then there's 30 minutes of Q&A. So if you're interested in any of that, please send us an email at herbwomen@gmail.com. All right. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about In Our Own Hands series. So Julene Tripp Weaver will be introduced in a little bit, and she is one of the featured speakers at that wellness series. It's a virtual series that occurs from January through March. We have 6 presentations: Skills of the Herbal Mystic with Judith Laxer, Sacred Seeds for Radical Nourishment with Lisa Ganora, Writing as a Healing Cauldron with Julene Tripp Weaver, Vocal Empowerment for Women with Celia Farron, Trees as Kin, Trees as Healers with Isla Burgess, and our very own Linda Conroy is talking about stressless botanicals, food, and activities that support the nervous system. So we'll be sending you links for that. And I also want to mention that the early bird for that ends on December 1st. And again, women on the call are receiving the receive a coupon. You can combine the two at this point. So you can use your coupon on the early bird special and get a great price on that. So let's see. At the end of tonight's talk, we'll be giving away registration for that event, the In Our Own Hands Women's Wellness Series. We're going to be giving away a Midwest Women's Herbal Apron. And I just washed mine, so I brought it with me, and you can see it here. So this is a fantastic apron we're going to be giving away at the end of tonight. And we'll be giving away a signed copy, excuse me, of Julene's book, Slow Now with Clear Skies. And you need to be present to win, so stick around to the end. All right. So for tonight, please keep all your questions and comments in the chat focused on tonight's topic. If you have any questions, send an email to herbwomen@gmail.com, or you could send Barb, who's been putting in a lot of things in the chat. You can send her a direct link as well, or a direct message. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Linda Conroy. I'm honored to introduce Linda. She's a visionary and founder of Midwest Women's Herbal and owner of Moonwise Herbs. Linda's a bioregional herbalist who's been practicing and teaching herbalism for over 30 years. She offers a number of in-person herbal apprenticeships. She teaches a lot of classes in person. So yeah, there's a lot more to say about Linda. So I think we need to expand your bio a little bit, Linda, there. But I'm grateful to have spent a lot of time with Linda. I apprenticed with her for several years. I've been attending the conference for a number of years and got to know her there. So I really honor and treasure our relationship. And I'm really glad to be working with you at Midwest Women's Herbal, Linda. So I'll turn it over to you. So welcome, Linda Conroy.
Thank you, Shari. And thanks for sharing all that great information. There's a lot going on, and we don't even realize it sometimes. And it's incredible to think that we have more to come. So, and I'm so excited to be here this evening. These community conversations have been a lot of fun for me, as Julene said, as Shari said, we've had 20 of them that we've done, and this particular community conversation is really, really special to my heart, because Julene Tripp Weaver, who is our guest, was my first herb teacher, and I always like to just honor her for that, because I don't think any of this would exist without Julene. So, and she's been in person to our conference on 2 occasions. And when she's there, I usually look at the crowd with her and say, "You started this, you instigated." And Julene is an instigator in my experience. And I really just so delighted to be here and welcome her into this space to talk about writing as a healing cauldron. I worked with her actually as a case manager for people living with AIDS in Seattle, Washington for a few years. And that's where I met her and was introduced to herbs and how to utilize herbs to promote your health and keep your body strong through difficult health issues, as well as to keep yourself strong on a daily basis, on an ongoing basis. And so being introduced to that, Julene always wrote as well, in my experience. And so she's been a writer for all of the years that I've known her. Um, and one of the things, when I was reading through Julene, through your bios, I was reminded that you studied with uh, several really well-known writers, including Audre Lorde. And I started to get a little fangirlish. I was like, oh gosh, that must have been so amazing to spend time with her. If you aren't familiar with Audre Lorde's writing, I encourage you to go and learn some about her, because she's quite influential in the Black community and the feminist movements, in the gay and lesbian communities. So she really, I'm sure, had a huge influence, and I'm hoping that we can hear a little bit about that tonight. But that's my personal experience. And then I want to read Julene's bio to you, because I usually will miss something if I don't include reading someone's bio. So, Julene Tripp Weaver is a licensed psychotherapist and certified herbalist in the wise woman tradition. Her fourth poetry book, Slow Now with Clear Skies, was published by Moonpath Press in 2024. Her third poetry book, Truth Be Bold, Serenading Life and Death in the Age of AIDS, was written in 2017, won the Bisexual Book Award for Human Relations Indie Book Awards and was a finalist for the Lambada Literary Awards. Widely published and anthologized, she lives in Seattle and is writing her memoir about surviving AIDS. She led Muse to Write groups integrating continuum based movement and writing for over 10 years. So join me in welcoming Julene Tripp Weaver.
Hello.
Welcome, Julene.
Hello. Hi, Linda. Hello,
How are
everybody.
you?
Thank you for coming. I have a bit of a tail end of a cold, so my voice is not its usual self. It's a little hard for me, but I'm here and my voice is back. I did lose my voice for a day and a half. Yeah.
Well, yes, and thank you for coming. You certainly could have canceled if you needed to, but I'm really grateful that you're
Yeah.
able to join us and that you have your voice back.
Yeah. I'm very glad
Yeah,
I have my voice back.
yes. So, like I said when I was reading your bio, I had intended to ask you a question about what inspired you and started you on the path of writing and being reminded that you studied with Audre Lorde. I'm wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about, your beginnings. I know you lived in New York at that time, and if you could just tell us a little bit of that part of your life and how that inspired you.
Yeah, I went back. I had to work I worked 14 years before I went back for my first degree, my undergraduate. And when I moved into Manhattan, I started my writing in earnest, getting into a group and then going to workshops. And when I learned Audrey's taught at Hunter, I I decided that was what I had to do, and I worked my life so I could make that happen. Audrey was amazing to study with, and it was an amazing time and place being in Manhattan in the middle. It was a very feminist period in Manhattan back in the 80s, in the early 80s. There was a lot of feminist presses, a lot of women's bookstores. And when I went back to school, not only did I study with Audre Lorde and Joan Larkin, who published one of the first lesbian anthologies, but I studied with a woman named Louise DeSalvo, who wrote this book, Writing as a Way to Heal, and many other books. She had a PhD and is an Italian American writer. So I studied a lot of literature classes with her. Sorry. Um, it was an amazing time. I found some wonderful people. It was a wonderful experience. And studying with Audrey was was something I had to do, and I'm so glad I was able to do it. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, really a special, I'm sure, a really special, unique
Yeah.
opportunity. And I don't think many people can say that they spent time with her. Um, One of the things too I was thinking about in terms of the title of this talk that we're doing tonight and of your 3-hour workshop that you're going to do as part of our Women's Wellness series, um, writing as a healing cauldron. So
Mhm.
how did those experiences influence you? Because as long as I've known you, you've really utilized your writing as a healing cauldron. I've seen that over and over again, even in your subsequent studying with continuum movement work and writing together. And so I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about how that came to be and how that like what that definition, what that means for you.
Ooh, I've written in a lot of groups now, and I ran a lot of groups those 10 years that I did my what I called Muse to Write, and that evolved out of Emily's Poetry in Motion. Emily Conrad was the founder of Continuum Movement. She passed away in 2014 at 80 years old, and she worked up until the end. She had brain cancer and didn't figure out, and she was getting headaches, and they finally figured out she had brain cancer, and she died. But she was an amazing, strong woman in the LA area, and I went back and forth and studied with her. And the first time I did poetry in motion with her in 1996, I saw how powerful it was. And when you're in a group writing, um, you're in that group. It is a cauldron because images start coming from different sets of writings that are in the environment, like your mental space in that environment and your body being in that space together is a cauldron that it becomes a communal brew of sorts. So images will appear in from different angles, from different people in their words that come on the page. And it was um, cauldron in that you're diving into your body, into your sound, audible breath, and then you're coming to the page out of perturbing inside and then seeing what comes. And and when you do that, it's kind of like you make a pot of stew, or you make a pot of soup, like, chicken frame soup from the bones of the chicken. You put everything in there and then you get this wonderful melody that's just beautiful. Or if you're making a pot of tea, um, and I use a lot of Chinese herbs as well as Western herbs. So um, I've always done a lot of brewing in cauldrons, and I like the communal cauldron of people coming together to write. It's just has that first poetry in motion blew me away, and then I said I have to do this, and I did it, and I did it long enough, but 10 years was enough. And it's a hard sell when you're doing movement work for writers, because the movement people don't understand the writing, and the writing people don't understand the movement, but you're trying to put them together. So it was never popular, but it was my way of showing up in the world, and I loved doing it, and the people that came really appreciated it. I think you came to some of those, didn't you, Linda?
I did, and I was going to say my experience was it was so powerful.
Yeah.
And one particular experience that was powerful for me is that we were, doing movement work, and then you had us do some writing on those large pads
Yes,
because
large.
you instructed us to write from our bodies, not from our heads.
Right.
And the things that came out on the paper surprised me. Like
Hmm.
I didn't because it wasn't coming from my head. I didn't know they were there until they were on the paper.
Right. Right.
And it was so insightful. I got insights into things that I don't think I would have ever
Hmm.
realized.
Hmm. And did we sound the lines when you were in those workshops? Do you remember sounding the lines, the words in
I'm
the
sure
lines?
we did. I mean,
Yeah.
because I did that with you several times.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I had went with you to one of Emily's workshops and
Hmm.
one time too, and she was a really powerful lady, and um
Yes.
the way her body moved was just it was unreal. It didn't even look human.
It's yeah, it's organic. It's listening into the body as opposed to telling the body what to do. So the body has its own way of expression that it finds when you go to those deep levels within yourself. And it really is going in and paying attention to your insides. It's very different. We won't be doing that in these workshops, but it is a powerful experience to do combination of body work and writing together.
Hmm.
And it's where I began to realize certain things, whole themes I could write about, like became through to me there where I didn't know I had them in me either. So um yeah, particularly the AIDS book that published in 2017, that was a lot of writing about my work and my personal poems, and that was a really powerful book, and that gave me the strength and courage now to write a memoir that I'm working on. So it's all steps as you're going, as you're learning. It's a growth process and expanding process that you find within yourself. There's a whole wealth inside of us that it's worth finding the time to dive into. Yeah.
And writing, I mean, really can bring that through. I know I've been working with a book called This is Woman's Work. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, by
No.
Dominique Christina. And
Oh,
she has a lot of writing prompts based on women's archetypes
mm-hmm,
and to get you connected to those universal female energies. And
mm-hmm.
it's such the writing prompts are so powerful.
Yeah.
She has you do all kinds of different writing instructions. And I know you were interested in inviting people to do a writing prompt here this evening, and I wonder if
Yes.
we want to do that now. Um,
Yeah. Does
if you want
everybody
to,
have a pen and a paper?
yeah, if you could grab a pen and a paper, and it just we'd like to give you an opportunity to do a writing prompt and then come back and we can open it up and have some dialogue. And I
Yeah.
think, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know Zoom is not, what you're talking about with the cauldron, like Zoom isn't the, ideal place to have that experience. But I still think it happens to some degree when we get
It
together with a
does.
certain
I'm
intention.
in several writing groups now on Zoom, and some in person, but it does still happen, even on Zoom.
Mhm.
It can happen. We may not have the type, it may or may not happen in this experience here, but the thing is, you get a little bit of the experience. So the writing prompt that I want to use tonight is just to feel into your heart, maybe touch your heart and just find a word that your heart is either feeling right now or that your heart is. So it could be a metaphor or it could be a feeling. And just write whatever your heart is saying to you right now. And we'll do that for 3 minutes. And I have a timer, so I'll set the timer. And then we'll come back and we'll see if anybody wants to share from that. But again, nobody has to share. I know that makes people nervous, but it is great to be able to share because you get to hear and you get to experience your work through um, group that group experience. And when you do take the courage to share, it gives you a new perspective on yourself, I believe. Um, so I'll
Can I
set the
just add
timer.
something I heard you say when we talked about doing this?
Yeah.
Is that you had suggested that we would write continuously without interruption
Yes.
and
Yes.
just let anything come, not edit or worry
Right.
about what.
Right. And so you start, my heart is, or my heart feels, whatever, works for you. And then if nothing comes right away, write it again and just until something comes. And so you have 3 minutes to just play with that idea and anything that comes after that. So whatever comes, you're writing down. And you're not stopping writing for 3 minutes. Yeah.
Great.
So I'm gonna set the alarm. And if you want to turn off your video and your audio during 3 minutes, that's acceptable. Okay. All right. Timer is set. 20 seconds to go. Okay.
Wow, one of the things that happened for me is I thought 3 minutes is a long time, and then I didn't want to stop writing.
Good.
I don't know if anybody else was feeling that way, but it's like, oh, 3 minutes. So, um, is there anyone who would like to share their writing? And Shari says, me too, Linda. She had the same experience.
I can share. I wasn't expecting this, but I just had the tears coming, and I felt a lot of hurt and pain. I've had some deep grief, and with that, some other things that I want to keep personal, but I was really surprised how it opened up. And I've been like crying heavily these 3 minutes as I've been writing, and it was completely unexpected. And with that, I'll leave it there.
Like to share, not, I don't necessarily want to read what I wrote, but I started out in that place too of just very sad, and all this sadness came up. But as I continued and then writing, and I just felt a shift, as you were talking about the cauldron, and it was kind of in my head, and it went from this sadness to water to emotion to a cleanse to like, just like a freeing almost. So it started out down here, I feel like, and it ended up here. So it kind of took me through this journey, a 3 minute magical journey that just kind of transformed a lot of the sadness into it's all okay.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Nice. Yeah, sharing your process with it is also revealing and helpful. So thank you both for sharing that. Yeah.
I'd be happy to share
Great.
analysis there. I turned off my volume and then realized I was writing and brought myself back, I think, in time. My word is occulting. And I'd just like to read this, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
My heart feels a word, once familiar but now new. Meaning, a new meaning that resonates with the more familiar. Occulting. I'm reading The Underland by Robert Macfarlane. He's on the coast of Sweden, I believe. Beautiful seascape, landscape, heartscape. In the distance, a lighthouse shines, then darkens, shines, then darkens. In this nautical term, occulting, the shining is always longer than the moments of darkness. I live in this space of occulting. Now I can say the moments of light are longer than the darkness. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Wow.
Yeah, really beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I'll read mine, I guess.
Yes, please.
My heart feels tentative in my wellness. The fact I lost my voice hurts this heart that wants to be there when called forth. We know our soft spots, where we fold into a knot and cannot be released from what plagues us, our worries, our distant self off playing in a field, sucking a stalk of wheat, riding the waves of a warm air, a memory treasured, a time we can never forget.
Mhm.
Anyone else want to share something?
So it looks like somebody said yes. Is that
That's me.
yes? Go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. I was surprised by what I wrote, but here I am. Let's see if I can. Oh, love being old. Okay. My heart, tender and delicate like a mountain, precise and bewildering metronome of my dance. You have been my drummer in this body since I swam in the salty cauldron of my placental cave. My, how I take you for granted until you suddenly stop, the sound of emergency racing in my sleep. Restart, sweetheart. Heart, what stops you? What threat, what heavy weight of time and space has altered your steady presence? I am here to listen.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you.
I did have the experience of having my heart stop.
Of what?
Having my heart stop.
Ah, wow. Thank you for sharing.
It's amazing what can come in 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. So incredible.
It's a rhythm we always have. And we take it for granted, but without her, without our heart, and that makes me think as a writer of what is the heart of community? What keeps the drum of the community going? I mean, I'm so impressed with how you have created environments in which there is a heart that holds many people together and in awe.
Well, and one thing I was sitting here thinking is how quickly this group went for really deep. Like it
Yeah.
happened really quickly, partly because there already is a container and we're together and we're ready to do this work. And Julene's a great holder of the container as well. And so I just really love that. It's so beautiful. Now, 3 minutes. Go there so quickly.
Yeah.
So is there anyone else? I want to make sure that anyone else who wants to share is welcome to do that. Is there anyone else who would like to share? And because this is a community conversation, we have a certain amount of time. And so we're not really going to be doing feedback or that kind of thing. But I know one thing I do want to know, Julene, is we are planning on spending 3 hours with you, which I'm super excited about. So if we can do this in 3 minutes, imagine 3 hours. What kind of things will we be experiencing in the longer workshop that you're going to do with us this winter?
Well, it is what is called a generative workshop. So we will be generating writing, and we'll probably do several longer prompts than this one to get that writing generated to start. And sharing again, if you wish, or sharing the process if you wish. It's always this it's thank you for sharing, for participating, for being here. That's we don't it's not a critique group. That's a different animal. That's a totally
Right.
different would be a totally different group. I've been in critique groups and I've been in just generating groups, and this will be a generating group. So I think we'll have a chance to talk. We'll have a chance to get to know each other. 3 hours is a substantial time, and we'll have a chance to have some um, meaningful back and forths about what people might really be looking for, and maybe go into um, the resonance of the group with what people are really there for, whether it's healing or working with chronic illnesses, or working with a wish to, be some force in the world. Um, I mean, those are some of the things that are just coming to me right now, but I think it'll be a communal process, and that cauldron process that happens when you're in a group, um, with some generic prompts to start, and then you see where you go from there.
Since we're a community that is prompted by the plants. St.
Right.
John's wort got us here, by the way. That's what Julene and I bonded around St. John's wort, and I would say that's how we got here at this for this moment that we're doing this together. Um, I'm wondering if you just might say, and I know this could be a very long conversation, but could you just say a little bit about how writing fits into healing in terms of, when we're dealing with challenging health issues, like where writing fits into that? Because, a lot of us are pursuing the interest in herbs, but I think writing really can play a role, and I know it has for you.
Well, writing is a way of healing. The book I picked up earlier from Louise DeSalvo, she looked at a study that a psychologist, a psychologist who's a PhD level, um, did around writing and healing. And there's a format that is developed where you write for 20 minutes for a certain number of days, where you talk about whatever it is that is your issue, trauma, health issue, and you put in your feelings as well into that writing. And it has shown that that helps the healing process through the study that was done. And she writes about that, right? Writing is a way of healing. And I believe that. And I've used it in my own journey, that and the herbs. And the 2 workshops I've done at your conference in 2018, after my AIDS book came out, and then after Slow Now with Clear Skies came out, um, were both focused on, well, this was the last one was called Poeming Health, the one I just did in 2020, this year, 2025. Um, and so it was writing through, and we were there for what those workshops are an hour and a half, right? I think an hour and a half,
Yes.
90
Yep.
minutes. And we each got a good start on 3 poems, on 3 pieces of writing. Um, and and everybody chose to read their work every time I've been in person with people at the writing conference. And the same thing with the Muse to Write that I ran for years. Uh, I think that in that type of community, there is a healing process. And in the first one I ran in 2018, I talked about chronic illness and are taking care of someone with a chronic illness, and what you need for that, for that stamina and that support that you need as a person helping a person. So, and everybody who comes for their own reasons. Some people weren't there because they had a chronic illness, or they were dealing with somebody chronic illness, but they were interested in the writing. So I think people come out of whatever constellation they have, and then they come into a group. I know that with the herbs, certainly we have a history. Linda and I were in a ongoing group that met monthly for few years, where we focused on one herb and study that herb. We went out into the woods and sat under Devil's Club, and we made a moon lodge, and we picked our herbal alley, and we drew and we wrote. I mean, we had this amazing experience. And the herbs just became a part, they integrated into my writing in a way that I hadn't expected. And in this book, I actually, in the last section of this book, I actually have some of those poems that came out of the meshing of the herbal. And I want to do more of those for my next, eventually my next book when that comes, my next poetry book, that is. Um, so and I wrote a column for years too, about health and writing, and while I was studying in the herbs, for a newsletter. So I think that it just these things begin to integrate into they integrate together for me. Like there's no separation between them and writing at this point. It's like writing can encompass everything in our lives, in our bodies, in our health, in our way of looking at the world.
Well, it's truly what we
Understanding,
would
yeah.
say is holism, right? Like
Yeah.
if we what's really holistic is all of the integration of all of these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you would be willing to read your poem for us as
Yeah.
a closing because we're getting to the end of our time. So I thought if you could read your poem, and then if anybody has some questions, we can take a few questions. And
Okay.
then we've almost gone a whole hour already.
I know. I know. So this poem is titled Wise Women Herbal Tradition Self-Care Quest. And it's a sonnet tiara, 5 parts. The very first line of the poem is the very last line of the 5th sonnet, and every last line of the sonnet starts the next line of the next sonnet. So you'll see what I mean when you hear it, I think. 1. Blindsided, I stopped to hold myself still. Despite the dark, I trust and dance in unknown waters with slowed down movement, arms stretched. A leggings day. Comfort in a field seeking what soothes this frayed nervous system. Start with a ceramic cup to wrap my hands around. Chai, to boost clarity and insight. Stop, absorb the heat. Acknowledge this time is the only time despite the stress hum. The high strung eruptions in the world. I feel my toes walk onward and listen. Tree ghosts answer my invisible questions that float in dark hollows. 2. Questions that float in dark hollows. Recessed knowledge of herbs in my cells. What works well within this body. Brushing against oats, I hear a whisper, an ancient wise call from workhorses whose steady nerves pulled their weight, consistent strength from what they ate. There is a wise woman inside. She understands the nutrition of ritual, what the plants provide, how they give back what they take from this earth, how minerals infuse health through preparation, prevent illness long before it starts. She's on a pilgrimage to heal without regret. 3. A pilgrimage to heal without regret. I flutter forward. Rustling leaves offer answers on this golden path. I taste and harvest bountiful weeds from nature's wild space. I glow in sunlight. Give thanks to each cutting. Leave the mother, the tallest ancestor. Say a prayer. Bestow my gratitude. This is time away from busy, time in to find myself and my ally plants, to sustain this life into the future, this quiet where fairies dance and sing, secrets revealed. Willow is strongest during a storm. A twig of willow falls. During a storm, a twig of willow falls. This is 4. Chewing it, my headache disappears. Ancient ritual of my grandmother, passed on in stories from childhood. How do I know? Time is universal. We carry our history in our bones and mouth, that oral cavity, canal, throat to sphincter, secrets of the body formulated into science. Foxglove killed a man, speeded up his heart. Now we have digitalis. Careful, do not confuse foxglove with comfrey, that bone knit plant that weaves together any broken bone from its poultice. 5. Any broken bone from its poultice. Comfrey will heal like a dream. Miracle plant that scares people. Wise women have never been afraid. Their anecdotal evidence is strong. Lost in skepticism, it's hard facing those with so much authority, backed up with research from what they stole. Sensitive in the fray of rules and regulations, many knocked down, frightening reality in a world where people suffer too long, despite the allies they could use to heal. Blindsided, I stop to hold myself still. Anyway, that's a poem from my book, my current book.
Mm. And people can purchase that book through your website?
Yes. Well, there's several places you can go from my website that have the book available.
Wonderful.
I don't sell them personally. No, but they're on. It's in on mail order through the big one, Amazon, which if you're not using understood, bookshop.org sells it, Powell's sells it, Barnes and Noble sells it. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but they can go to your website and figure that out.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, there's
yeah,
links there for all the places.
great, wonderful. So, we have a couple of comments which I think are worth. Claudia says, "I love this merging of herbs and writing." And then Cynthia says, "Amazing flow. Thank you for the reading."
Thank you.
So those are a couple things. I know we heard you read that in person at the conference, and I was so excited that you were willing to read it again tonight because it is just such a wonderful piece and so powerful.
Thank
So
you.
thank you for reading it. Is there anyone that has any questions for Julene or for myself or wants to bring anything forth before we transition over to Shari? Shari's going to do our giveaways tonight, one of which will be Julene's book, a signed copy of Julene's book, which is very exciting. And so you do need to be present to win, so stick around. And but I'm wondering if anybody has anything that they would like to hear from Julene before we close for the evening. So if no one else is going to ask a question, then I will. And Julene, as we're going through this evening, I was wondering, you've really taken a lot of journeys. I find you to be actually one of the most curious people that I love how curious you are about the world and what's around you and how you bring that out in your writing and in your interactions with people. And in your curiosity, I imagine you've stumbled across a lot of surprising things in your life. And I'm wondering if you might just share one snippet of something that has surprised you as a writer or as a as an herbalist or just something that has surprised you on your journey.
Oh, what has surprised me? Well, for one, that I'm still here, that I've survived. My I didn't talk about this obviously, but I learned I had HIV in 1989, and most of the people who had it in those early years are dead. So the fact that I'm a survivor is a big one.
Yes.
And I've done a lot to live and learn how to take care of myself. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons. How do we take care of ourselves? And I think this poem about self-care, in the wise woman tradition is a big part of my journey. Um, and that book that came out in 2017 was, after keeping it silent for like over 30 years, was the first time I did a public, personal and public, personal poems public, let's say, about living with HIV and what that meant to me. So digging into that has taken me a long time, and now writing my memoir, of course, is also digging into that longer. So I think that what we find that's difficult for us, it's worth pursuing. It's worth digging in and finding out more and keep learning. That's it. That's what I have to say about that.
Yeah. And wonderful words of wisdom in terms of that, because I think a lot of times we shy away from those hard things.
Yeah.
And in some ways, you had no choice but to dive into your hard things. I mean, it was there and it was
Yeah.
real and it was palpable.
Yeah.
And I remember, being with you in that space as you were learning and sorting that out. And you really did lean in and you really, embraced what was happening, even when it was really hard.
Hmm.
So I really admire that
Yeah.
about
I
you.
mean, even before that, though, I was, going to study with Audrey. That was, it was scary, but I wanted to study with her,
Mm,
and I've always jumped in to things. So, um,
yes.
yeah.
So two things we have one person says that was enlightening and inspiring. Thank you. So
You.
gratitude. And then somebody was asking, do you have any suggestions for writing groups that practice the healing through writing? Do you have any suggestions of places to go to pursue writing groups that have that intent?
Um, I would say start your own.
Mm,
Because I mean, I'm in several groups, and a lot of the poems that are in this book were written during the pandemic. I started a group in March 2020 on Zoom, and I decided I was going to write about the pandemic every time, no matter what the prompts were. And so a lot of these poems came out of that period, um, because I dug deeper into that. And I had a lot of, I don't know if it comes out in the poems, but I had a lot of comparison between HIV/AIDS and COVID. And I really wanted to explore it deeper. So I did that. And I did that on my own. I didn't always read in that group. It was optional, like it should be in any group. And that was a good group, and it lasted through COVID, and then it kind of died out after that. But I would say if you're really interested in that, the best way is, to look around, see who's doing what, join what you can. But if there's nothing out there, start your own group. Look for other people who are
mm,
interested in writing and make a time and start to get together. Because you don't need many people. You just need a core group to get started. And yeah,
wonderful. That's wonderful advice for sure. And I think that, when you talked about our herb group, that's what we did. We just started it and
yeah, yeah. And
people
it
had
was it
different
was like
interests
five,
and
five maybe of us.
yeah.
And is that way, if somebody can't make it one time, you're not left hanging because you still have enough people, to get together. Yeah, I think five is like a good number of
Yes.
people in a group, because that way it's flexibility.
And I think the ongoing groups that's a really wonderful thing. I know I worked through that book I mentioned earlier. This is Women's Work with a friend. We worked through that book for 2 years, actually, which was
Uh,
really powerful. But I also want to encourage everyone, and I'm sure Sherry's going to mention this too, is to come and spend 3 hours with Julene this winter. I think you can see that anytime I've spent with Julene, including tonight, I always really inspired. I get insights. That 3-minute writing, for me, I got some glimpses into some things I didn't know that were on my heart. So, and I'm gonna keep writing about it because it really stirred some things for me, and I'm guessing I could hear from the other people who shared that was true for them too. So, Julene, thank you, first of all, for taking the path that you've taken and persisting, because it has been an incredible inspiration in my life, and I'm sure this evening it's been an inspiration for everyone who's here as well. So thank you. As always, I'm just so grateful for you and your mentorship and your guidance and your curiosity. So I'm going to turn it over to Sherry. I'd love to keep talking, but I'll look forward to the 3 hours we'll have together um, in the winter. So thank you again.
Thank you, Linda.
And I'm going to turn it over to Sherry.
Yeah. Wow. Um, I I was feeling when you asked about questions, Linda, I think I was still deep in what I had written and I'm still immersed in that on some level. And it was hard to kind of come out of that and think of a question. I don't know if other women were experiencing that, but I couldn't think of anything. So yeah, I filled my page and certainly could have kept going and completely unexpected. So um, it was really special for me, Julene. I know I said this to you at the conference in person that we have a intention setting for the conference, and Julene was one of the presenters that Linda had invited to help us hold that space, and that was a really powerful experience, and I was really happy to spend that time with you, Julene. So thanks for doing that with us this past spring. A couple things I forgot to mention earlier for the In Our Own Hands series, scholarships are available. So if you'd like to apply for a scholarship, I'll be sure to put that in the link and highlight that in the replay or the follow-ups. Just making a note for myself. And you can attend individual workshops for the In Our Own Hands series. So if you were really inspired and want to spend time with Julene, you can do that. We, of course, encourage everyone to sign up for the full series. There's, of course, a price break if you sign up for all of them instead of purchasing them individually. So just wanted to point those couple of things out. And let's see. So what I like to do at this point is if you've been sitting with your camera off, it's a little easier and more enjoyable if I can see your face and to pick some of the winners. So what we're going to do is we'll pick the winner of the apron first. And what we'd like you to do is we'll write your name down, but if you could also send us an email to herbwomen@gmail.com so we can connect with you and send out that apron. I really like it. It's nice and adjustable. You just pull the strings down. I keep it in my kitchen. And of course I had to wash it because I use it all the time. So let's see. How about Angela Lexvold? Angela, so we'll go ahead and give you that apron. So you've won the Midwest Women's Herbal apron. So send us that email at herbwomen@gmail.com and Barb's put that information in the chat. Congratulations. Now for the registration for In Our Own Hands. So there are 6 sessions and I'm going to be traveling with Linda for the first one and then I'm staying extended on a trip. And Julene, your session is going to be while I'm traveling. And I thought, oh, I'll watch the recordings. I'm like, no, I think I need to attend this one live. So I'm going to make it a point to attend your session live, even though I'm traveling. So how about Taylor H? Taylor H, you can send us an email at herbwomen@gmail.com and we'll send you information how to sign up and register for the In Our Own Hands series. There you go. All right. And now we're giving away Julene's book, Slow Now with Clear Skies, which she read about. And we put in the, if you go to the community conversation, I can't remember where we put it, but I'll put it in the follow-up email too. I popped a clip of her reading her poetry at the spring conference, and I'll put that link. It's on the Midwest Women's Herbal YouTube channel. So if you're not familiar with that, we do have a YouTube channel. And there's a small clip of Julene reading from the spring conference. So we'll put that in a follow-up. So how about Ruth Strutz? Ruth, you go ahead and you can win, you've won Julene's book. And go ahead and send us an email at herbwomen@gmail.com. And she's going to sign that and send that out to you. So thank you for that. So everybody, thank you for attending. Go ahead, unmute yourself, turn your cameras on. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Julene. Thank you, Barb. Thank you, Cindy's, who was doing some tech work support in the background. Thank you for everybody attending. And as Linda said, it's just amazing when we've already had this container so we could all visit and go into this deeply quite quickly tonight. So that was very amazing. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Look for those replay link and some emails that we're going to be sending out with some special offers. You want to be sure and pay attention and look at those. Yeah. So everybody go ahead and unmute yourself and say a word of thanks or an inspirational word that might have come to you from tonight's community conversation. Thank you, and good night.
Thank you, everybody.
you.
Thank you from my heart.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My heart's wide open. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you.